So, what are we going to get today? I keep looking at these old issues, and Bob's got 2 out of 3, and I do like these. I like these a lot, and I like these covers, Weidenfeld. What I'd really like is the A format Grafton Omnibus, which has got like a hand grenade on the cover, and I know where I can get one, but not at the moment. But yeah, those are quite nice. So it's been ages, something I probably am going to get today, because I've just read a absolutely brilliant short story by him in the Appendix N book, is Poul Anderson's War of the Gods, and Bob has got several of these, and they're only like, you know, 10 quid. And this story, which I've just read in the Appendix N anthology, is head and shoulders and more above everything else in the anthology, with the exception of Michael Moorcock's Dreaming City. It's so authentic. It's a proper Nordic story, and I'm going to rave about it when I review that on the channel. So I keep looking at this every time I come here, and I think I am going to have that because it's really impressed me. And with Poul Anderson, I'm not a massive fan of his SF, but his fantasy is just incredible. It really is.
I mean, it's not one that goes for big money, just so you know.
No,
it's maybe a £22 one.
So important collecting conversation going on there with Bob and Jules. The dilemma of the sealed Folio Society edition, because if it's sealed, you don't know if it's a first or not. And of course, if you're a folio collector, you want the first printing if posh, you know. So bit of a dilemma. What have you got there, Mr. Burt?
Tales of the Trigon Empire, do you remember that?
Good grief, yes, that takes me back.
Hawk books now. They published these, they did all the reprints of the Dan.
What were they originally in? Was it in the Eagle?
Look and Learn.
Look and Learn.
Look and Learn, yeah. It was the best thing about it.
Well, it's the only thing we can remember.
Oh, yeah, but what a rollickingly good story.
Yeah, gosh, I haven't read that for many years, That takes me way, way back.
And these are one of their Dan Dare ones, which are beautiful editions.
Lovely.
Bob's got 25 each on those, which isn't bad at
all. Oh gosh, another rabbit hole to fall down. Nicholas is a good guy. Yeah, it's a good guy. So look at that. That's the rarest DG Compton. I think this is the only edition there's ever been of the Palace. I must review it on the channel. So, and yeah, that is probably the rarest one. So, you know, I am thinking today, what am I going to get? Because, you know, I do burn these dealers down. I come and see them and I buy all the stuff I want, and then they're struggling to find more that I want because I'm so exacting in my demands. Oh, lovely stuff, of course. So PKD there, Dick and the Glimmer. I've got these, of course. Time Out of Joint Book Club, lovely. Look at that, 40 notes, but you know, pretty scarce. Gather yourselves together, that's a good one as well. Got that too. Hail. Now, Paul de Filippo. Am I in a mood for Paul? Look at that, that's fantastic, isn't it? Is that Golden Griffin? Yeah, it is. Really, really, really nice. Beautiful. I'll think about that. So as you see, Bob's got 3 of those Poul Andersons there. He's got another 2. So it's not uncommon, but they're all in good nick. So I've gone through them and picked out the one which looks the most handsome for my needs. I love the covers of these Jane Gaskell books, but I can't find volume 1 in this livery, and it could well be that it may not have been done in hardcover in that livery. So yeah, I don't know. But these are would be real nostalgia buys for me. But I think I wouldn't want to go with just middle ones in the series. I'd want to go for the lot, really. What else we got? And I've just spotted something interesting. So there's some things here. Bob has got some new books he hasn't quite put away yet. And there's some things here. Obviously, he's mid-sorting. And this is a good Kilworth collection. I've got one of those, Onwards Paint. Because in paperback, it had a fantastic Jim Burns jacket. But I do love the yellow jackets, as you know. So there are 1 or 2 things here. I think I swapped that Fowler in with Bob. Now you see there's 1, 2, 3 copies of Ash by Mary Gentle here, and that's been fetching big money online, and very, very much so because it's one of the biggest fantasy novels out there. I've got a copy, I haven't read it yet. What have we got here? Fairy Chessmen and Tomorrow by Kettner and Moore in the Gnome Press. And really beautiful. So, you know, I get very tempted by that. I really do. Something else I get tempted by, even though I've got a hardcover of it, because I've got the American hardcover, is this by Charles Platt, Twilight of the City, which in the UK is called The City Dwellers. I've got a Sidgwick of that, but yeah, I don't know. Very, very nice indeed. Do I need another copy? Probably not really. This is one that Richard Remble at Vintage SF reviewed recently on his channel. House on the Borderland. Fantastic stuff. Really good. This one is 150 quid. So who is that from? Swan River Press. It's a limited. And I read this book decades and decades ago. A big friend of mine in South Wales had a band named after the creatures in this, the swine things. They're a heavy metal band, which worked really, really well. So what do we fancy? I have read this. I do like Houellebecq or Welbeck, because there's a lot, but I didn't get on with this one. And the trouble with all his early books is they're all by different translators, but I'm going to think about that because it is very beautiful. And I'd like to give it another crack, really. I really love Plain Liveries, and that's Michael Joseph, absolutely beautiful, Shirley Jackson. But I mean, if that was an author I liked, I'd buy it straight away. But I've never been fussed on Shirley Jackson. She doesn't do it for me, which is a bit heretical, I know. That, and ironically, I actually prefer Sean Hudson, even though I realise that she's more of an artist than he is. But, you know, Sean's a good guy, and I find his work very entertaining when I'm in the mood. So here we are in Dorset Bob's library, and don't be shy, Bob, and we're just sort of setting up, and we know you like to see these things, and we're just going to talk about some of the books that made Bob. So we're getting the lighting right, because of course he does have a YouTube channel of his own, Mr. Book 451, which he hasn't posted on recently, have you, dear? No.
Too busy selling books.
Too busy selling books. And the library here at Dorset Bob's has a Beresian theme. There are lots of sort of kitty cats, and there's sort of shades. You won't see it all, of course. It's in other videos. It's a Beresian theme. So it's just Let There Be Light. Jules Burt is out in the warehouse creating havoc out there, and Rian Hughes is there as well. That's good. And right. yeah, absolutely. It's super. So we've got we're good. We're there. That's great. And so we're slightly shadowed, but that's kind of cool, isn't it, really? So we are talking about the books that made Dorset Bob. Now, Bob, I've done this for myself on the channel. I've done it with my friend Phil, the occupier, the books that made him. One day I should do it with Bertie, actually, but today it's your turn. We're just going to run through a few things which were formative for you. So where do we start, dear boy?
Well, boy is the
turn.
Is it?
Yeah.
Because when I was a boy, I always think of myself as I was born in the 60s.
Yes.
But I grew up in the 70s.
Same here, yeah.
And in the 70s, there were second-hand bookshops everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
I lived near Bournemouth, and there was an area of Bournemouth called Boscombe that had, would you believe, 6 second-hand bookshops.
Fantastic.
So when I was a boy, I'd cycle in on Saturday morning. I drove my mum nuts because she knew I was going to get knocked off my bike. But I was about 11, 12, whatever. Yeah. And I started buying little pulps. And I mean, crazy.
There we go.
I was attracted by the covers, obviously. I mean, but what crazy things they were aimed at juveniles and teenagers in the 40s and 50s anyway, most of them.
Yeah. And this one we see on the cover, it says Calvin M. Knox, which is Robert Silverberg, and A. Bertram Chandler as well. So that particular issue was one of the formative ones.
Yeah, well, it was just so crazy because it was a sort of rocket ship made out of
it's a raft.
Wood. It is like a life raft.
It's a life raft in space.
And it's so stupid.
Fish balls and like that.
They've got a cannon on the front.
Yeah. Will it really fly?
But, you know, it got me into reading these stories. And then, of course, being the 70s, of course, we couldn't grow up without being attracted to New English Library and...
Of course, the classic livery.
Yeah.
Heinlein, Space Cadet. And are you one of these people who are you one of these people who says that a lot of Heinlein's best books are the juveniles? Is that?
Well, it's probably difficult to judge now because when you're reading them, you're like 13, 14, and you kind of don't really appreciate what goes into a novel or what goes into the craft of writing. What I found with Heinlein is at that age I just really enjoyed the storytelling. I think also Heinlein then went in the 60s into some of that territory that a lot of writers did, didn't they, where he became very experimental. He moved away
more
from
countercultural.
Exactly.
But with Heinlein, he was more experimental in terms of taboo breaking content, wasn't he? He was never a stylist in the way that some of
which didn't appeal to a 13-year-old boy.
It's an interesting thing because I think for me, Heinlein, I was attracted to the NEL books as well, and of course the very big sexy ones, things like I Will Fear No Evil with the skull on the cover, that leapt out at me. And I remember buying that, and that didn't work for me at all. Stranger in a Strange Land was another one. And I think with me it was because I had begun reading SF with British writers who had more of a literary sensibility, which came out of the scientific romance, out from Wells. Well, Doyle, Wyndham and Wells are my first three guys. So making the transition into American writers was quite a difficult thing.
See, I probably approached it from the opposite view because the other one was, of course, Asimov under the pseudonym Paul French, but the Pirates of the Asteroids and the Lucky Star books.
Isn't that fantastic? Yeah.
I mean, that just happens to be a...
David Starr.
But they were the equivalent of the Heinlein juveniles, the Asimov juveniles.
Published by World's Work. Look at that. Yeah.
But of course, the collector instinct in me said that I had to upgrade to
to the real thing.
I do remember reading Tunnel in the Sky when I was
Scribner's.
Again, when I was really young.
US hardcover first. There you go. I've got this one, but I've never actually read it. So there you go. So Heinlein was a formative influence for you as a reader at that point.
Well, and one of the biggest influences was W.H. Smith's, because that's where the books were available. There were very few specialist shops, especially for a kind of young boy.
Absolutely.
I remember when I was growing up in South London. We lived in South London before we moved to Bournemouth. And I'd walk past W.H. Smith's in Sutton High Street on my way to school. And, what popped out at you were all the NELs and the Sphere books, and, of course, the Pans. And the Pans, and you've coined the term Pan Lozenge.
Pan Lozenge.
That was the period of the Pan Lozenge.
Yeah, absolutely,
and, the sort of writers that then I started reading were the British writers, the Bob Shaw, Michael Coney.
Yeah, Bob Shaw was very big for me in Pan Lozenge, and so here we are. We have a Bob Shaw here. I've got a copy of this as well. This is the first edition of Other Days, Other Eyes, which I think, for me, it's always been the greatest one. It was actually the first one I read, and I discovered it because there was a Marvel Comics adaptation of one of the inset stories, the one that's called The Light of Other Days, and I read that in a Marvel comic, and then I came across the Pan Lozenge edition, but I also read lots of other Shaw at that point. I was reading things like Who Goes Here, which is a favourite, which is a funny one, Wreath of Stars, Medusa's Children, all those things. But this remains for me my favourite.
Me too. And that is a book that I've been back to several times.
It never lets you down.
No. Somebody once said to me, "You're crazy. Why do you reread books when you've got so many books that you've never read?"
Wow.
But it's like your favourite piece of music. You don't listen to that once.
Yeah.
Your favourite film, you don't watch it just once.
You find you have to read a book many, many times before you know the text incredibly well. And for me, it's things like 1984, Clockwork Orange, Neuromancer, Andy Warhol's Made to Be a Backie, and a few other things which I know really well, and which probably I can't read anymore. But this I've probably read about 5 times. But it still yields up because his craft is so balanced there. And as a reader, when you explore a writer's oeuvre, you see them at their best and their worst, and Shaw was definitely at his best. And
yeah, he was.
And it's also the sort of things which they don't actually grab you as being that important when you're a young reader, but later on as you mature and read more, you realise they're important. Like, for example, Shaw's depiction of Alban, I think Alban Garrett is the character, the breakdown of his relationship with his wife is really well delineated in this, and it's done with real deftness and flair. And he does that in other books, but not so well, but it's done really well in this. And it's also the originality of the ideas. I think this one and Nightwalk is ideas using optics, which is a part of physics, is something which so few people have done in SF. So it just show that there are things can't be done. But yeah,
there is one other aspect to this, and that is that as I was getting a bit older, I started going to science fiction conventions.
Yes.
And at the EasterCon, Bob was a regular.
Yeah.
And what you got there was the man behind the writing, and he was such a lovely,
he was
warm
lovely,
individual.
He
was so friendly. He was a very shy man.
I met him once, and I found him utterly charming.
And for me, that reinforced the love of the books.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
had the guy behind these wonderful things, who actually lived up to all your expectations.
Yeah, he was a wonderful human being. Yeah,
he was.
So I met him once, and I was absolutely charmed by him, and he was so pleasant.
Yeah.
And you just think, these guys are your idols, and they're like rock stars to you, and you meet them, and you have so many good experiences.
And of course, Bob came into the field of being a professional writer through his fan activities.
Yes.
I mean, I've even somewhere got a few issues of his early fanzine that he did, called Slant.
Yes.
With Walt Willis, and you could tell that his love of science fiction came from his very, very early teens.
So there's a continuity there from reader to fan to writer. And it's a beautiful thing, isn't it, when you recognise and see that continuity and you become part of it. And another classic Gollancz Yellow Jacket.
Well, and again, I did have the pans, of course, of these books, and they're what really excited me. But of course, I got rid of them when I got the first. But I mean, this for me is just,
Hello Summer Goodbye.
Just again a book you can read and reread.
Again, I mean, I've mentioned this book many times, and of course, this is the one which has two variant titles. In the Door edition in the USA, it's called Rax, and in Canada, it's called Palahaxitide. But of course, in the UK, we get the literary title, Hello Summer Goodbye, because this does bug me, the way that American publishers would change the titles of science fiction books and arguably dumb them down, or rather they would try and meet expectations of what science fiction was like. And that's something that's always really bothered me. But yeah, this is a beautiful book. I mean, we're relatively near to the Seaside here, aren't we? And Coney's thing where he often would set books in seaside locations, even when they're on other planets. Well, even when the characters weren't human beings,
there's another aspect to that Seaside, because when I was again very young and getting into reading solo, I remember we spent holidays in Scarborough. My grandparents lived in Scarborough, which, as some of your UK viewers will know, is on the east coast, by the sea, with a lovely beach. And the newsagents used to have racks of paperbacks, these wire racks.
The rack spinner.
Yeah, and you would, and that's where I remember seeing one of Coney's other books, Charisma, with the very distinctive yellow, orange,
and the tree,
tree that's
like
been
a
hit by lightning.
Tree,
and just being absolutely transfixed by this, so much so that I had to buy it.
It's just not just the art; it's the titles. It's what is a science fiction novel called Charisma going to be like? And again, I've got memories of rack spinners at seaside locations in small South Wales valleys, newsagents, buying my first Edgar Allan Poe, my first Edgar Rice Burroughs, think Wells, things like that. And, you would just pick up these books where
you lived on paperbacks because very few hardcovers were actually issued for shops.
Yeah, you didn't see
You
them.
know, Foyles in London would buy every
Yeah.
hardcover that was published, but actually in W.H. Smith's, unlike today, in most bookshops, it was all paperback.
Yeah, you didn't see them, did you?
Very few. The hardcovers were for libraries or for Foyles in London, 1 or 2 specialty shops in London. But in every other instance, it was paper-based.
Absolutely.
And of course, old magazines that you'd find on market stalls or
second-hand
shops.
The thing is, you would buy paperbacks in places like, I can remember being in Woolworths in Pontypridd, where I come from, and they had 2 bays of paperbacks, and I would gaze transfixed at the cover of Green Hills of Earth by Robert Heinlein, which was a panel lozenge, and I think, wow, this just looks so cool, you know. And you can't recreate those things. Those are moments lost in time, like Tears in Rain, as is in Blade Runner. But those are just a few things of many that we both have, you know, our unique memories of, and some shared memories, as you see. And it's a funny thing. I do wonder, but you know, obviously it's a very subjective thing. We look at young people today buying books that, you know, they used to buying things online, and is the thrill of discovery still there? And I think it is still there, because in my job as a bookseller, I see young people coming in, and I work in a very large bookshop, and they go, oh wow, you know, this is great, what have you. But there isn't quite the same level of surprise and delight that there can be with so many second-hand bookshops gone, with things like the rack spinner being dead, the A-format paperback being dead, magazine culture shrunken down to virtually nothing. It's a whole different thing. But you know, we are in the future, and we are living in the future which science fiction predicted, except through a glass darkly, so it's different. But thanks for that, Bob. Thanks for
pleasure.
joining me joining me in your library. And now we're going to go and do some more horse trading, because I brought some things down to swap into Bob, and pick some books of my own, and you'll get to see those in the club room on the channel. Thanks again, Bob. And then we've got to go to the pub as well. How are we going to fit it all in? Bye for now, everybody.
Bye-bye.